an early edition of the Wrighster and Ralph podcast today. So, Antonio Brown takes unnecessary shots at Colin Kaepernick. And I'm like, oh, really? Oh, really? You have some nerve, buddy. You have some damn nerve. Luka Doncic, he is doing everything and nothing all at the same time in the playoffs right now. He's doing everything for his team, but it's materializing to a lot of nothing. And I'll tell you why. And top five today. Yeah, that'll be a secret. And Ralph wants to know who Kevin Samuels was, now the late Kevin Samuels, because he does not understand. My wife didn't even understand. I'm like, how do you not know who Kevin Samuels is? And Ralph it is his 16th wedding anniversary, and he's got tips, people, and I'm gonna judge them, even though I have no right to. I'm This is the Rights or Wrong podcast, the intersection where sports, business, society, and pop culture meet the truth. Thanks for coming on. So, first thing up, Antonio Brown goes in on Colin Kaepernick. Ralph, you can tell the people what the man said.
Oh, he had a lot to say. Basically, it boils down to it, and it really depends on where you're reading this because it's been aggregated to so many different websites. Whereas you had like Fox News write an article about this and focus on the fact that Antonio Brown said that they don't see Colin Kaepernick out in the hood where he's from, and he's from, I think, somewhere in the Miami area, right? Liberty
Oh,
City or
does
whatever.
does does
Um,
Antonio Brown, with what he's doing, does he look like he's hanging out in the hood?
no.
And where does Colin Kaepernick spend the majority of his time?
Isn't he like out in Oakland or something?
In California.
Okay.
So, like, yes, you may not get exact. Actually, I'll let you finish saying before
It
I
is a
go
big
off.
it is a big ass country.
Yeah.
Like to say like I opened my front door and I didn't see him standing out there. Um
And you think he lives in Liberty City, driving Lamborghinis and Ferraris? You think, dude? We've seen his house on IG when he was cussing out his baby mama. He does not live anywhere near a hood. Get the
right.
fuck
But he
out of here.
also he said a few other things. He kind of offhandedly didn't really focus on it, said that he was trash on the field.
Yeah,
Which is I mean,
that
I feel to be objectively false.
that is objectively false.
Oh, I've
His
seen a lot of people try to make that argument, and it's just
He
not
threw
true.
16 touchdowns, four picks his last year. He's been to the dude. If Colin Kaepernick was trash in the NFL, then what is Carson Wentz? What is Nick Foles? What is uh Jimmy Garoppolo? What are these dudes if he's trash?
Right. And so he also said there is no hardship for Colin Kaepernick because he got that Nike money and he took a handout from the NFL. He repeatedly said that he took a handout, and what I'm assuming that he meant by that had nothing to do with Nike, but actually the settlement from the lawsuit with the NFL instead of actually like taking it to trial and making sure that everybody was deposed and everything happened out in public. So basically what he's saying is like he got paid, he got his sponsorship, he's got love from people in the league. The only thing that he's missing, which Antonio Brown cast doubt on the fact that whether he actually wanted it or not, was a spot back in the league. And then he went on to say like, yeah, you say he does good, but I've never seen him in the hood, and you say he has a foundation, but what does it do? And the interviewer wasn't
Read
able
a
to like answer
fucking
that.
article, nitwit. Read, bro. There are tax documents that are public record that show what happened. There are articles, there is news, there are press conferences, there is every single thing documenting. He donated $1 million of his own money. What the hell have you? I know Antonio, but I would bet every dollar in my bank account that Antonio Brown has not donated $1 million to anything of his own money. Not, I would bet every single dollar that that's not true.
He donated way more than $1 million back to the Oakland Raiders. Thank you.
So, dude, the People who don't do always find a way to knock somebody else. If you notice, people do not criticize Colin Kaepernick for his charity work. Like no objectively honest person can say you can dislike his stances, you can dislike everything. But there is nobody who can say that he's not out actually trying to help people and do the work that he said he's committed to do. Would you agree with that?
I agree, and I would say that of everything that Antonio Brown said, which who knows a man's heart if it's coming from a place of jealousy or legit criticism or whatever. The one thing that you can pinpoint is saying I don't know what his foundation does. That's on you.
Correct.
Like that's
I don't
an
know what it's
issue
trying.
of ignorance,
Yeah. I don't I
right?
don't
That's
I
like
don't
saying
I don't know what happens at Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Is that even a real thing? Like what?
right. I heard Big Brother is a bad thing. The government spying. You want to send your kids to a government spy camp? Come on now. It's just ignorant. Like the information's available and you haven't consumed it, but you want to speak on it. So there should be some criticism there. However, George, I do wonder because Colin Kaepernick has done enough in his life that are line in the sand moments,
Yeah.
whether it's the pig socks, whether it's sitting for the anthem, because that came before kneeling. That was the
Correct.
original thing, right?
Yep.
And then the kneeling, and then the speaking out, and then the suing of the NFL, and then the moving of the last minute workout. And some of the, there's been a million things that you can talk about when it comes to Colin Kaepernick that have said, like, oh, that have invited you to have an opinion or question his intent. A million things. So I understand anybody who is not 100% in line with Colin Kaepernick every step of the way. And what I want to ask you is, do you feel that at least some of Antonio Brown's criticism is representative of maybe a way that some people in the NFL might actually feel about him settling instead of actually making sure that all that dirty laundry got aired out in the open with the NFL?
Oh,
Because he brought up the settlement a few
there
times.
are people and I had some criticisms for Colin Kaepernick. I don't think that you should be complaining about stuff if you're not voting. First thing. I don't think
Yeah.
that you should be. And if you don't want to vote, okay, whatever. Then you need to go be the political person that, or find somebody who is going to do the work, right? And
The
help them get elected and all that. So you either got to pick
bankroll a
one. Yeah,
socialist candidate or whatever it is that you're into. Yeah.
yeah. You have to pick one or the other. So I've had criticisms for Colin Kaepernick. And now with the settlement on the outside looking in, there does look to be like I was frustrated by the settlement as well. But the issue is that we do not know like how that was going to play out legally. You see what I'm saying? Like what because Brian Flores now is fighting to keep the case away from arbitration. Colin Kaepernick's lawyer may have already known that they were going to end up in arbitration. You see what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
just because you want things in open court, contracts, the way contracts are set, you are not always able to get to court. Like arbitration, a lot of times is built into contracts, and in your NFL contract, if there's a dispute, you go to arbitration. You have to file a grievance, go to arbitration, all of these sorts of things. So while on its face, I was critical of Colin Kaepernick taking the settlement, I also understand that we don't know all the legalities that went into it. And if he did take the settlement instead of going out and going to go get, bringing everything out into the light, then yes, there should be some criticism there. But or if the payout was so damn big that he's like, well, at least I'm compensated for not being, or that if I do take it to the mat, I'm never going to get back into the NFL. Because he's a dude who gave up an opportunity to play professional baseball where people thought he was better at to play football. He had no scholarship offers and gave up a chance to be drafted and and go potentially a first round draft pick. Gave that up to end up at Nevada, last minute scholarship. So this is a dude who wants to play, and I think it's very, you know, disingenuous to assume that we know all the details that have gone into it and what went into him taking the settlement in the situation.
Yeah. I think the one overarching theme, because it doesn't matter the name that you throw out there, and they're not comparable as far as why they feel like their NFL's careers ended before. Because I mean, a lot of people believe their NFL career ended before, or that they had enough left in the tank at the time that their NFL career ended. Right? A lot of people feel that
Yeah.
way. However, the ones with the biggest public support to keep that going have been Colin Kaepernick, Tim Tebow, um, uh, and in some weird corners, Antonio Brown. And
Okay.
again, I've said that
So,
they're not necessarily comparable, but I think the overarching theme that we can actually see, if you want to find one objective truth about the NFL, it's that there is a cost benefit analysis on the amount of attention and distraction you bring to the situation to determine whether or not it's worth having you in the building.
well,
And
okay.
when you said that that being cut from the Raiders was like gaining your freedom, when
Oh
you took
God.
your pads off and waved at the crowd on the way out, when you when you pissed off the city of Pittsburgh, who like loved you almost unconditionally, outside of the you know you not wanting to be there anymore, they would have battled for you, you know, and he was great. He was great, but I just don't think it's worth.
You know why you can't trust Antonio Brown? You can't trust him. Bruce Arians, yeah, he's tough. Yeah, he can be, you know what I mean? Like, but if you're just willing to play football, he's one of the coaches that's like, get out of the building early. Coaches, go pick up your kids from school or drop them off to school, either one of the two. Like, he's super easygoing. He's not like playing for Belichick. And it is insane that you would in Antonio Brown would try to knock another man getting a job and an opportunity when he needs grace. Like he needed grace to even get to Tampa. He needed grace. And now he's starting to figure out, oh wait, hold up. I'm running out of grace. I may be like my grace cup may be empty. That while I'm still a really good football player, is he still an NFL caliber wide receiver? Yes. Is he still one of the best in the game? No. And the biggest problem is that even if stuff fell out with him and Bruce Arians, him leaving the field during a football game is unacceptable.
Yeah,
100% unacceptable. And no coach is going to be like, I'm telling you, Antonio Brown will not play in the NFL again. There's only the only way that he can redeem himself or get another opportunity is to push the nuclear button and say, I'm going to therapy, I'm going to treatment, I have a problem, blah, blah, blah. That's the only way he gets another job. He can't be trusted. Like he like people say the same thing about Kyrie, but hell, at least Kyrie will show up to work for the majority of time. I mean, like it's it creates instability and chaos wherever Antonio Brown is. It's
yeah,
like the
and
Jay
I
Z
don't,
quote: "If everybody else is crazy, you're the one who's insane."
and I don't want to write him off and say that it's not redeemable. Um, Maybe it is outside the NFL or whatever. But I read a quote last night, and it seems to be fitting, and that's that the proud man can learn humility, but he will be proud of it. So like sometimes that pride's just so deeply ingrained in you that even if you um try to rebrand, right, as humble, or you do humble yourself, it's still going to be in there, you know. I don't know. I think he's done, but I don't think the damage is done. I think that unless he learns to accept some responsibility, that he's going to continue lay blame at the feet of as many people as he can, taking as many opportunities as he can to get publicity, plug his music, whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
He's going to make sure that he stays dropping bombs, and it's going to keep him out of the NFL.
Yep. Yep. Bro, because he wants to. I don't know what the hell he wants. I mean, at first he was, he was with Kanye. He's the new CEO of not. It's a disaster, bro. It's an absolute disaster. Speaking of disasters, Luka Doncic, who is an absolute baller, right? You look at his stats in game one. I'm sorry, in game two, 35 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal. He did have 7 ugly turnovers. But, and then when you look at, during the regular season, 28 points, 9 rebounds, basically 9 assists. Game one, 45 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, and a block. Like these numbers are fantastic, right?
Crazy numbers.
Yeah. But they are hollow as hell. He is trying to do too much. He's trying to do everything. And the problem is when you try to do everything, you're actually doing nothing. Is his stats are great, all of those things. But his team needs more fourth quarter production out of him, and he's got to get the rest of his teammates involved instead of me trying to make a play and occasionally kicking out or something like that. No, because those first 2 games against Phoenix have not been even close. Not been close at all.
And the last game, game 3 gets played tonight, but game 2 was the 11th straight win for the Suns over Dallas. 11 in a row.
Because there's a formula, bro. There's a formula. Let Luka score all the points that he wants. And he has to work hard to do it. It's like James Harden when except for all the phantom foul calls and the 30 free throws. He's doing
He
all.
does. His game does remind me of like a Dirk Harden hybrid,
Yeah.
which is like 2 of the greatest scorers of all time mashed into one. But
It's a one-on-one game. It's not a like he's playing 1 versus 5 right now. 1 versus 5 doesn't win. And people say, "Oh, he doesn't have a team around him." What are you talking about? He doesn't have a team around him. Look at what Jalen Brunson did.
Jalen
In
Brunson is overachieving. He's a second round pick. He's young and he's overachieving. I will give the Mavs credit for this. Like the team that is surrounding him might be aggregated the lowest the lowest picked of any team in the playoff. If you
yes,
aggregate where everybody's draft position and you throw out Luka, it's like how the hell did this team get to the playoffs?
yeah,
But the truth is, like, and we gotta give the man his flowers. I know it's easy to hate on him, but Jason Kidd has had this team playing really,
facts.
really good team defense.
Yes,
Like really good team defense. And the development of Jalen Brunson is wild. Everybody that passed on him has got to be scratching their heads right now. They just are not. They don't have the depth. They're not as in shape, which goes to Luka.
yep,
Remember the Jordan moment when he started to get bullied, and then he changed everything about his offseason and his body, and that ended up being the key. Luka's talented enough to have that type of run, like not 6 championships in
yeah,
6 tries type of run, but be there at the end of every year, be competing the way that LeBron did for over a decade. Just be there in the end, right? Um, but there's got to be some stuff that changes, and it can't just be that more talent's around him. He's got to be able to make sure that he can play 42 minutes and not have the last 4 minutes be excruciating, because he carried the Mavericks to a pretty close game. Him and the refs that decided to call a foul on both teams every time down the court for 3 straight quarters. But like he carried them to a pretty competitive game. And then in the fourth quarter, what did Chris Paul do?
yep, yep.
So
Whoop
I
them.
don't I don't know what to think of Luke. I really don't, because I see generational greatness
Yeah,
in him, but I don't. But like he I've never seen anybody talk to the refs as much as him
Okay, so if you put
ever.
I don't know, Mikal Bridges, yeah, if you put Mikal Bridges, Aiton, and Booker around him, do you think that how do you think that that plays out?
It'd be interesting because that was almost the team minus Aiton, right? Because
So,
the
but
Suns took Aiton over Luca. So,
yeah.
do I think the Suns would have a title if they had picked Luca? That maybe, maybe
Okay,
they
so
would.
the no, I'm saying if you take Luca now, the way he plays, he dominates the ball, does not, you know. So, do you think that he'll be willing to sacrifice stats because he's a stat stuffer? And
Yeah,
it kind of reminds me of early LeBron a little bit, where like he was doing so much and wasn't doing enough. If that makes sense, where the numbers were really great, but you're watching the game and you're like, yo, he's doing everything all by himself. And if he doesn't trust his teammates to make some plays and all of that, it creates a system where like they can't grow and you can't develop. And that was one of my criticisms about LeBron early in his career. I was like, he dominates the ball so much that now it creates a place where Chris Bosh can't even do anything. Like he's just turned into a spot up shooter. And then all of a sudden people can't go get buckets all by themselves. And then the narrative is, oh, LeBron doesn't have any help. But it's like not facilitating people to grow around you to be
yeah.
able to do that.
I got a few. I have a few questions about it because I think it's in him. I think that competitive fire is in him. I think he is already great. I think he wants to be greater, and I think that he has that competitive edge to drive this thing forward. Here are my questions about Luca, and you tell me if they're fair or unfair. Number one, the city of Dallas. Can the city of Dallas be the type of destination that would make people want to come and be part of like the 2011 Mavs team that that had a bunch of pieces around Dirk, right? It also, will they want to come support, because that's what it would be. There is not one player in the NBA right now, not one, not Kevin Durant, not one that would go into Dallas and take over as option 1A. Not one, not LeBron. He has established himself in that city, and he has established himself with those fans. He's not going to take a back seat to literally anybody. It would have to be either a straight up partnership or they would defer to him, right?
Yeah.
Do you see the NBA's greats casting their lot in with a white Slovenian who a lot of people in the NBA are already upset at the amount of attention that he gets?
Mm. Listen, they love ballers. The NBA and their fans, they love ballers. That's what I that's what I know. So,
But so let's say that Rudy Gobert gets his way and
okay.
he goes to Dwayne Wade and the rest of the Jazz decision makers, and he says, "Get Donovan Mitchell the hell out of here."
Okay.
And they go to Donovan Mitchell and they say, "We love what you've done for our franchise. We're going to give you your choice of where to go." And Donovan Mitchell has an opportunity to play with an aging LeBron James who had absurd averages for his 19th year in the NBA. Would have been crazy averages for somebody who was in their prime.
Yeah.
To go play in LA with him, or to probably have a better shot on being the missing piece that might put them over the top in Dallas. Is he going to want to go play with LeBron or Luka? And what factors into that decision? Like, is Luka an outsider the way that James Harden has, over the course of his career, sort of been an outsider? Will Luka even have the opportunity to burn through teammates the way James Harden did?
No, because that's not the way that Mark Cuban is going to do it. and they acquiesced every single whim that James Harden did, allowed him to not be on time, stay out of shape, all of this stuff. And I think that the Mavs are going to demand more because Dirk is going to be in his ear like, yo, bro, this ain't gonna work. And so Luca has to find a way. Now, granted, I'm not saying he doesn't need better teammates around him, but he also has to use those teammates because this formula ain't gonna work, buddy. They're gonna get swept with this
They
formula.
are. Oof. They don't match up good anyway. And the Suns taste blood. Happy 37th birthday, Chris Paul.
Yep. Now it is time for the top five. I am enjoying this new feature on the podcast. Top five, where we give top five lists. But today it is top five cartoons of all time. And I had a lot of trouble with this list. At first, I thought it was gonna be super easy. I was like, Tom and Jerry, yeah, cool. Then as
Tom
I
and
got,
Jerry.
I used to
Love
watch
it.
that a lot as a kid,
Yeah.
and so as I got deeper into it, I was like, damn, bro, this is harder than I thought. Harder than I thought. So I'll give you my 5 to 3, and then we'll alternate. Number
Okay.
five, because it is very difficult for me to make this list. So I had to go with a 5B and a 5A.
Okay.
My 5B, Scooby Doo. You had mystery, you had excitement, who done it. You know, you had to choose either Thelma or Daphne, who you were with. Um,
And
uh, okay. I don't remember who I liked when I was younger, but now the name Thelma has a funny meaning to me because there's this now woman that I know that I've known since college or whatever, and she gave I apparently I have a big butt, and she gave my butt a nickname, and she has an enormous ass, and I gave her butt a nickname. I call her
where's this going?
Thelma. So so now when I think Thelma, I always think of her booty. But
Okay. All right. All right. Um, the thing I love about Scooby Doo is they obviously have updated it over time. They keep making episodes and everything, but my kids don't know the difference. Like they'll sit down and watch the original and they'll watch the new one, and they'll watch. They love it, and it's weird because as a parent, greatness starts to factor in of like what will keep my kids occupied,
yeah. Yep.
right? So I'm just gonna go from my own personal preference list. My number five is a cartoon that changed my life because it mixed Saturday morning entertainment with my other passion, sports, and that is Pro Stars. Do you remember Pro Stars?
No idea what that is, bro.
Okay, only 13 episodes ever got made, and it starred the fictional superhero cartoon characters Bo Jackson, Wayne Gretzky, and Michael Jordan.
Oh, I do remember that. Bro, how on earth did you pick a top five all time cartoon that has 13 episodes? You are
I
automatically
know.
disqualified. That is so Ralph Amsden if I've ever heard it. All right, my number 5A, Phineas and Ferb. And I
Oh,
know
so
that
good.
this is a younger cartoon, like, because I was an adult when I started watching Phineas and Ferb. Because my
But I
kids,
bet you it was the first one that you could sit through all the way with your kids and enjoy it as
yes,
much as them.
yes,
Yes.
Phineas and Ferb is outstanding. All right, here's my number four. My number four, Transformers. Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Like the old one with like
Yes,
the deep voice Optimus
yeah,
Prime.
Optimus. Where you had the Autobots, the Decepticons. I had an Optimus Prime, uh, 18 wheeler that would convert. Bro, I was all in. So that's my number four.
Okay. My favorite show growing up, my favorite like non-animated show was Wonder Years.
Uh huh.
Um, and because of that, my number four all-time cartoon is the animated version of Wonder Years because it was just a straight up ripoff. Doug. Do you remember Doug?
Yes, dude, I love
Do,
Doug.
do,
Do
do,
do
do,
do
do,
do
do,
do
do,
do
do,
do.
do. Yeah, Doug was cool as hell because I was like, wait a minute, this is the Wonder Years.
Yep.
You had like the artistic older sister. They replaced his bully older brother with Roger, but made
Yeah.
that the relationship. Skeeter and Paul are the same damn person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Wendy is Patty,
Oh,
and
I never even considered this, but this is
bro,
a
it's the same show. And I loved the Wonder Years, and so that's why Doug is my number 4.
my number three, Family Guy. It seems today that all we see is violence in movies and sex on TV. And I think that Stewie might be the best animated character there is. Stewie Stewie and Brian together are pure comedy, and the best cartoon, especially adult cartoon clip of all time, is hey Brian, hey Brian, where's my money, man? Where's my money, man?
Or that, or mom, mummy,
Yeah,
mom,
mom,
ma,
mom,
ma.
mommy.
Okay, all right. I will give you that. Maybe I have underrated Family Guy. I do want that thing where like I don't watch it for 3 years and then I'll catch up on a whole season in a day
Yep.
on like a sick day or something like that. But it's been a long time since I've watched. My number 3 is that somehow this is my sophisticated, highly educated, hyper Christian wife's favorite show, but South Park.
Are you
Just
serious?
for the evolution. Yeah, just for the evolution of what South Park was. It was like a crass, dumb, like animated jackass for 8th grade boys when it first came out, when I happened to be in like 8th grade. And then it has turned into like a really smart, biting, vicious social commentary that goes after literally everyone. Like no one has ever been safe from what that show has had to say. And it is the originator of the world's greatest joke.
Who killed Kenny?
No. Do you like fish sticks?
Oh, I have no idea.
Do you like fish sticks? Have you ever
Yeah,
had fish sticks?
yeah.
What are you, a gay fish? Have you not seen the Kanye West episode
No,
of
dude.
okay, then
I've
that's your homework for today. They
I have
the
seen
entire
probably
premise.
f- five total episodes of South Park.
Wow. Okay. I will make a like number one, the Kanye West episode, like where he had to respond to it. It was so goofy. Like the Kanye West episode of South Park, where they come up with what is supposed to be the world's funniest joke, which is, "Do you like fish sticks?" And if the person says yes, you say, "What are you, a gay fish?" The only person in the entire world who doesn't get the joke is Kanye West, and he goes into like an all episode complete rage, like talking about how he's a genius and he's not gay and he's not a fish and so he doesn't understand. And and I mean, it is an incredible episode of television, and I highly recommend that you start your South Park journey with that episode.
Okay. My number two is DuckTales, the original DuckTales, not this newfangled, the young kids. That the new reboots, the two attempts that they made have been trash. But
Even though it's like the biggest cartoon on the planet, like
DuckTales,
for kids. Yeah, they
it
like
is.
all my kids are wrapped up in it right now, man.
The
They're like
new DuckTales,
the
oh God,
new
I
DuckTales.
hate it. I hate it so much. I love the old DuckTales.
He said, "I miss the old DuckTales. I hate the new DuckTales."
Not the new DuckTales. Straight out the womb DuckTales.
uh, okay. My kids love that so much right now that I have to like defend it a little bit just because it keeps them off my back for a half hour at a time.
Okay, what's your number two?
X-Men, the X-Men cartoon that
Mm,
that was I like. I'll watch it now if it's on. I will stop what I'm doing and sit down and I will watch Gambit and Rogue. And
I forgot about that. I did like
bro,
the X Men.
I was a big fan of that show. And that's another one that I don't think had a ton of episodes.
Yeah, that was a good one. My number one is Animaniacs. What are you laughing for?
That's your number one of
That is
all
my
time.
number one
That's
cartoon
got
of
to
all
be why
time.
we get along, because you got to be a massive weirdo to like that show.
Why? They gave you Pinky
Because
and the
it's
Brain. They gave us there was other spin-off cartoons from it.
yes, No, it was like Garfield and Friends, but for weirdos. It is it like
Animaniacs just got a reboot too, and the reboot was good.
I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could. I love Animaniacs. I just think it's for like it is for it's like a higher level Looney Tunes for
Yeah.
like people who think but also like really goofy stuff. It what like if you loved Animaniacs, you love Twitter. It's just nonsense that'll make you think sometimes. Mostly laugh, but sometimes you'll think.
Okay, that's my number one. I didn't
That's
think
your
I'd be
okay.
judged so heavily for Animaniacs being my number one.
I just think that I think it makes sense why we hang out. Like,
Okay.
um, whew, my number one is going to be one that you already mentioned, and it's just because as a dad, it was the first show that I could sit through, and it wasn't hot dog, hot diggity
Diggity
dog,
dog.
like what make, making me want to put my head in the oven. Um, and that was like Phineas and Ferb watching like 3 episodes, and then your kids get up to go do something else, and you're like, "Where you going?"
Yeah. Aren't we still watching?
Yeah, yeah. And then I mean, I took my kids to Disneyland. We went to like the Phineas and Ferb parade. The songs are hilarious.
Yep.
I'll bust out my Doofenshmirtz impression for you someday. Um, but like yeah, that's that I just I will always have great memories of being able to watch cartoons with my kids because some of the stuff they
Yeah.
watch now, I'm just like,
Dude,
no,
I
I will not spend
agonized
time on
over
this.
I agonized over this list. And people who are listening to the podcast are probably like, wait, hold the hell on. Hold on. How did they not mention The Simpsons? I did not watch The Simpsons. Like I was not
Were
allowed
you
to.
allowed?
Nope.
Okay? So
I was
you were
not
one of
allowed to.
those, right?
I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons. I was not allowed to watch Married with Children.
Okay.
And so,
My wife was also not allowed to watch The Simpsons. I found out that I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons after I had already watched a bunch of seasons of The Simpsons. I let my kids watch The Simpsons, and I'm afraid that like my parents and my in laws would disown us if. But then I do catch my kids being like over sarcastic sometimes
yeah.
and understanding references that they probably shouldn't. But they're still like early, like
Yeah.
season 6 or
So,
7.
but I do appreciate The Simpsons for how good they've been able to predict the future, and like I do think it's a good show, but it's not in my top five because I never watched it. You know what I mean? Like, so I've
Yes.
appreciated it more as an adult, kind of like Seinfeld. I didn't watch Seinfeld when Seinfeld was out. I've never seen an episode of Friends. Like, so,
You'd like Friends.
uh,
Can I tell you what the highest rated cartoon is of all time?
is it BoJack Horseman?
It is not. It's
Okay,
not.
because that's a
It's
very
that
popular show right now.
yeah. It is Batman the animated series, the
Oh
92 to
yes,
95.
that one. I used to watch the hell out of that one, bro. Watch the hell out of that one. And there were a few other. This list for me was super hard because I'll go down the list, the ones that were very high up on my list that I did not put in my top five. The
Okay.
Jetsons,
Okay. Good
love
show.
that.
Yeah.
The Flintstones,
I like the Flintstones. I because they would come on back to back. Yeah.
yeah. Pinky and the Brain, but I covered Pinky and the Brain with Animaniacs. So,
I feel that. Yeah.
Tom and Jerry,
That
Tailspin.
had to be like your earliest memories.
Yeah. Oh, Tom and Jerry. Yeah. Tailspin, because I used to watch Tailspin and Darkwing Duck too.
If
And
you
when
used to watch Tailspin, then I know you were also watching Chip and Dale
oh
Rescue
yeah,
Rangers.
Chip and Dale. So so when I
Rescue Rangers.
would get home from school, Ducktales would be on right when I got home, and then Chip and
Okay.
Dale would come on, and then Tailspin would come on right after that. Or no, Chip and Dale came on first, and then Ducktales, and then Tailspin. So then Doug, Looney Tunes, the Boondocks, the Smurfs, My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, He Man, and the Thundercats.
Okay. This isn't like it is showing very much that you're just a couple years older than me. Because it like for my stuff would be like TMNT, right? Like the stuff that
Oh,
that was made
I
right
did used to
after
watch
that stuff.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too. Yeah.
I want to give you two others.
Okay.
One, that would have just missed my list if I believed that it was an animated show and not a documentary, and that's King of the Hill.
Oh, I never
King of the
really watched
Hill,
that.
King of the Hill feels straight up like a documentary to me, especially Peggy Hill from Billings, Montana, which is
Okay.
like my people,
Yeah.
definitely. And then the worst cartoon ever made, Street Sharks.
Never even heard of that.
It was sharks that rode motorcycles, gave each other high fins, and said the catchphrase "Jawsome." Worst
Okay.
cartoon ever.
All right. Back to business now. Ralph, so Kevin Samuels died. And I told my wife yesterday, we were leaving a funeral. And I told my wife, oh my God, Kevin Samuels. I had a friend text me who is in the know. He was like, Kevin Samuels died. And I looked on Twitter, people like, did Kevin Samuels die? And I knew because this person would know, have intimate knowledge. Kevin Samuels was dead. And I was like, yo, Kevin Samuels died. And she looked at me with like I had two faces. Who's Kevin Samuels? And then so I said, go to his Instagram. She was like, I've never seen this man before in life. I'm like, you're on Instagram all the time. How did you not? You were, and then I was like, hold up. Our algorithms are different, but I don't understand how, as a black person, you don't. But this also led to another joke where like people don't always immediately realize that my wife is black when they see her. So I was like,
They think she like Tia Carrere.
yeah.
She's exotic.
So maybe she doesn't. So Kevin Samuels is not talking about her. So I just so Kevin Samuels is a um, by his own definition an image consultant. Nobody knows
Can
what his actual
can I
job
tell you
is.
what I thought Kevin Samuels was?
Okay.
As somebody on the very outside of this, I thought Kevin Samuels was like, I thought he was like Maury, where it was like tricking people who definitely shouldn't be interacting in a public space about their dirty laundry into like having him, or like a Judge Joe Brown, or like somebody, or like a Judge Judy, some, because there's great entertainment in telling people off. So people like volunteering to get told off. On some level, that is also why Dave Ramsey is popular. Not because his advice is good, but because you like to hear people call Dave Ramsey and be like, I have $5. Should I spend it on pizza or put it in the bank? And then he'll be like, "Are you dumb?" Like, and I think like especially passive aggressive people, especially people who don't feel like they can say all the things that are on their mind, they really gravitate toward that stuff. I thought Kevin Samuels was like a black Dave Ramsey type, to where like people just wanted to hear other people get told off.
Oh,
But
okay.
people are like
So
real mad. If Dave Ramsey died, I don't think people would be this mad.
okay. Okay, so Kevin Samuels is, by his definition, an image consultant. I don't know anybody that knows what he actually does to be gainfully employed. He goes on Instagram Live. He dresses up in suits like he's a well dressed, well groomed older man, salt and pepper hair. He was 56 years old when he died. So he has twice been divorced. Like this is very important information.
Like
Single,
how Dave Ramsey has declared bankruptcy. I see where we're going here.
except for Dave Ramsey did the bankruptcy thing to figure out how to do everything better. But maybe Kevin Samuels. Actually, I
Okay.
was like, damn. So so Kevin Samuels gets on it. He tells quote unquote the truth to women about how to have healthy relationships and especially how to get a high value man. He's on like the alpha male, beta male stuff.
Okay, which we've discussed on this show is absolute bullshit.
Yeah. So
Because beta means like second baddest wolf.
yeah. So he is so and then he just last week said that women so that in China he said that in China women who are over 27 are called leftover women in their language and they are and there's a push by the government to get them married. So he was like, okay, I was thinking about who are the leftover women in the United States. He was like 35 years old, unmarried, and a man automatically thinks like there must be something wrong with her. So he was like, if you're a leftover woman, you have to either share a man or lower your standards dramatically because you guys are trying to do too much. Like so, there were and when he asked when women sign up to get advice from him, he would be like, okay,
Why?
what size are you? What size clothes do you wear? I see your face. You're about a 5, so you need to be doing this, and this. So he would, and women sign up for this. His Instagram lives are like the last one was 199 minutes long, and people are on there the whole time. And this woman was on there who's married, who lost a high value man, and then she came on and was like, "How do I get him back?" And then he was like something, and she was like, "Yeah, yeah, my husband." He was like, "Wait, what? You're married?" So it's a complete drama. He embarrasses people, but he also like this is the tough part about Kevin Samuels is that there are some things that he says that are spot on, and some things that he says that are absolute like you just want to like fold him up in a pretzel and throw him in a box and throw him to the bottom of the ocean. So
But
his
isn't
death
what
was very polarizing in the black community because I don't think white people know who he is. I don't even think TMZ reported on his death, despite him being super famous in the black community.
he's been trending for over a day, and is the most polarizing content I've ever seen. And I didn't even know he was big like that. But I always thought that it was entertainment.
Oh,
I never.
TMZ did report on it, and sorry, he wasn't 57. He was 50. He was 56, and he actually died. Um, so a woman who said that she met Kevin on Wednesday night, and then she spent the night with him at his place in Atlanta. She so happens to be a nurse, and she said that he started to complain of chest pains on Thursday morning. She tried to help him. He fell on top of her, and she called 911 and got a defibrillator from the front desk of the apartment building, but she couldn't revive him.
That's horrible. That's horrible. I see. I don't know him, but I see a
Okay.
lot of people that seem
Have
very
you
very
seen the
angry,
Future
and I
Worst? So Future just has a song called Worst Day, and there's a video
okay.
for it. And Kevin Samuels is the guy talking to him when he's like, "Yo, how much money did you spend on women last year?" And he was like, "Oh, 25." And he's like, or like, and he was like, "Oh, 25,000 isn't that much." And Future's like, "Oh no," or he's like 12 or something like that. And he's like, "Oh, that's not bad." He was like, "Nah, a million." And he's like, "Oh, huh."
I think. Well, so I don't know. I don't know if he's supposed to be like the face of misogyny or whatever, but like I assumed he was an entertainment figure, not meant to be taken seriously, like a Howard Stern.
No, he
Um,
created his own brand, bro. Kevin,
but it's not. It's not
if
actors. It's
no,
not actors like morning radio that are
no,
calling in with made up stories,
no, bro,
like
no,
Second Date Update or War of the Roses, because all that shit's fake.
no, no, and Ryan's roses is not fake, just so you
Okay.
know.
What I just want to know, what do you think those people from Second City do for a day job? Those
Okay,
improv actors.
okay.
They work in call centers.
Yeah, so Kevin Samuels was on the verge. I'm telling you, he was gaining enough traction in the last year. He was gonna have his own talk show, like real, like big production in short order, bro. I promise you
Like
that.
like a male Wendy Williams.
Yes. But
Would
but
you
but
would you have
but for
watched it?
digital, yeah, but not on regular television because it would get described as misogyny and patriarchy and all of that. So he would have had to been digital. But his show, bro, people would have paid to see his show. I promise you that. I
I
just
don't know
not was
how
one
you
of
get
those
the
people
audience of women that want to call in and get told off. I don't
because
get it.
because his advice works for some of them, and he's not.
And
See,
people are really just out there seeking.
yes,
They just need
he
somebody's help, and it's cheaper than therapy.
Yeah, and he gives them the tough love that they're desiring, and
And my guess is that it's mostly popular with the people that are it's the I'm glad someone said it crowd.
yes, boom.
The
All right,
I'm glad someone said it crowd is annoying to me because just say it.
yep. All right, last thing we got up to today. It is Ralph's 16th anniversary. Congratulations on making it 16 years, bro.
Thank you.
Marriage is tough. Uh,
It is.
and anybody who's been married, like they always are like, yo, it's the most amazing and terrible thing at the same time. Sometimes it is fantastically terrible, but you would rather have done it than not.
So I ended up jotting down a few things that not like what the keys to marriage are, but just a few things that I've personally learned. And I want to read you a couple of them, and you tell me if you think that they hold true or
Okay.
not, or if you,
Okay.
you disagree in some way. Number one, the biggest one is happy wife, happy life is one of those things that kind of like makes sense until it's put into practice, like communism. Uh, it's like because to me, it's a form of codependency. Like you're saying that like we will not have a good day unless you're having a good day. But some days are just average. Like they're not unhappy. They're not hollow. They're
Yeah.
not bad. They're just not happy.
Yeah.
And so like putting that much pressure on somebody to always be on in order for you to be on is is a recipe for disaster. But it sounds good. And you hear people say it all the time. Some people jokingly is like a well, I've given up. So as long as she's happy, we're good. But like if you actually operate by that, you will ruin your life.
100%. You are
Okay.
100% right about that.
This is my biggest one. This is the one I believe, like deep down into my core, that we're talking about practice. Practice, man. We're talking about practice. Love's not a game; it's practice. You there's there's no score. Like if you're keeping track or keeping tallies of rights and wrongs, keeping a record of who's doing better or whatever, you're probably messing up. It's ultimate participation trophy thing. Like we rail against participation trophies as a society, but like marriage is a participation trophy because that's all you get credit for is showing up.
Yep.
No winning. Because if you win, that means they lose, which
Yep.
means you lose.
Yep. Bro, you are over here the Dave Ramsey of relationship advice right now. You need to replace Kevin Samuels.
That would be me just telling black women what to do. What? That I'd imagine that would not make my life better. Um, I'll give you one more. I'll give you
Okay.
one more. I would say that one thing that I've learned is that you should be sick of your spouse because you have cell phones. Like your parents, grandparents that were married for 55, 60 years went 9 hours at a time, just not even knowing where
Listen.
the other person was. Like, why do you think so many people in the 50s had secret families? Because they could. Like, but like and especially like the last 2, 3 years, you both work from home. You spend every single
Oh
day
my
together. Only
God.
time you're apart, you're on a Home Depot run, and then you end up exchanging 17 texts back and forth on whether or not you got the list right. Like, of course you are sick of each
Holy
other. Of
smokes,
course,
bro.
every modern married year has got to be like 5 years. And so I think that if you should be able
Oh
to
my
count the
God. So
pandemic
I've
as
been married
10
for
years of marriage.
35 years. Well,
Yes.
and then 45 when you count the pandemic. Holy.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say that if the pandemic year is 10 years, then this is my 36th anniversary, and not my 16th. But I do think it is important to remember that you can't compare yourself to your parents because they didn't have this much access to each other. Like they didn't
Dude,
literally had a whole life that they lived and then came home and got to share with that person. There's
you
not a
know
lot of separate
you know
lives being
what I
lived
want to
right now
do right now? I want to start a new podcast, bro.
of
Just
just like relationship advice.
of dad slash husband advice where like people call in and leave voicemails and then we answer them like a dear Abby.
Some of them, I'm part of like a dad group on Facebook that I've been part of. The founder got a bunch of people together in a group, and then he passed away, and we all just kind of stuck around in the group as a way to honor the guy who founded the group, right? And some of the stuff that the guys come in there asking for advice on is like, I don't know if I could. Like,
Oh
I
my
think I would just
God,
start
dude.
crying.
Dude, I want to do this. I want to do this. Oh my
That
God.
like like a dad vice thing.
Yes. Oh God, I love it. I love it. I'm
But
inspired.
I'm probably not. I'm not going to be the one to tell it. Like, I will tell you what I think, but I'm not going to be the one to be like, well, that's because you're a five.
Hey, bro, we gotta keep it 100 done, bro. All right, you guys, that's right or wrong.